this weekend, Thanasi, obviously is the King and Queen of the Ring event, which is going to be in Saudi Arabia. And it's going to have a very interesting proposition for us as predictors, because as things stand, we don't actually know officially what the finals are going to be for the King and Queen of the Ring matches. We know from the Raw side who's won, but we don't know from that. So that's another dimension to add into our predictions. But before we get onto that, I want to open our predictions with the Women's World Championship match between Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. Now, this is one of those matches that actually feels primed and ready for an absolute banger between two stars in the absolute thick of their rivalry. How do you see this one playing out?
See, I'm torn here because it's the right people, it's the right timing as well, but I don't know if it's the right location for a big time title change. Liv Morgan, I thought was considered, the front runner to take the belt in the battle royal that occurred after Mami got injured, but a time tested formula of giving the strap to an established star in that sort of moment of need did prevail, and that made sense. But the whole storyline is that we're building towards Liv Morgan going over Becky Lynch at some point. I just think that maybe Saudi Arabia is not the right location for it to happen. Maybe a money in the bank, potentially even an episode of Raw at some stage, maybe. But I just I can't help but feel that Becky Lynch is going to be retaining at this particular event.
That's very interesting to me. I think that you are right for the most part, and only because in my head I've fantasy booked the possibility of Becky Lynch dropping the title in Scotland to Liv Morgan. Scotland sort of being very close to Ireland, so it could be in theory a type of home ground upset for Liv Morgan to win there. So I think you're right. I think there's more to tell to this feud. And so for that reason, to extend it a bit longer, I've got Becky Lynch going over, just like you. Now that takes us to the next match of the card for us to predict, and that is the triple threat match for the WWE Intercontinental Championship between Sami Zayn, Chad Gable, and Bronson Reed. Now, this one, it feels like there's a lot of possibilities. There are a lot of possibilities as to how they're going to handle it. Which one sparks you the most as it comes to predictions for what's going to happen here?
So I just said a couple moments ago that maybe Liv Morgan would win the Women's World Championship on Raw. Potentially that won't happen, but potentially that Raw title change is in the cards for Chad Gable to defeat Sami Zayn in the next few weeks down the track. I just he's got some good momentum behind him, but maybe not quite ready for Bronson Reed to be a mid card champion just yet. As much as I love the big Aussie, but just we're not quite there at the moment. I think there will be opportunities for Chad Gable to get some good heat here because Sami Zayn, Arab of Arab descent, he is going to be the very very strong babyface in Saudi Arabia. I do think Sami Zayn is going to retain. But I do think also that we're building up quite soon for that big culmination of the heel faction. And as you recall, on Raw, Chad Gable was seen backstage interacting with the Creed brothers, and he was getting chants without music, but he was getting chants of "You suck, Gap, you suck" in the vein, in the melody of what we like to say to Kurt Angle. So I think a team Gable is in the cards very soon, and with Chad Gable as their leading man as the Intercontinental Champion soon, just not at King and Queen of the Ring.
Well, I've gone against my better judgment, and I'm going to say that the title change happens here, and I'm going to root for Chad Gable because I think he's doing great work, and I think there could be something really cool about his bringing the Intercontinental title with him back to the States. So that next show, he's walking out as the champion and pissing everyone off. And for that to happen overseas, it could even add fuel to the fire. But obviously, Intercontinental Championship, it's in the name. It crosses borders. So maybe they're going to use that for this change, or at least that's what I'm predicting. So go Team Gable.
Well, if I can just add this potentially a little bit of a tidbit, we saw that Otis did he did assist with Chad Gable's victory, but I think that he's going to show his true colors of goodness at in Saudi Arabia, and that's what's going to lead to Monday after the pay-per-view having some kind of a kicking out of the academy. But moving on to the next match.
And on the next match, I wanted to discuss what is probably going to be the main event, and that is Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul for the WWE Championship. Now, to me, this is the easiest prediction I feel for the entire card. I think that the American Nightmare is going to easily retain here. Obviously, that he'll probably have a good match, but I don't see a world in which Logan Paul can actually defeat him right now. Cody Rhodes all the way. Where are you leaning, Tanase?
Oh, I don't even want to waste too much time talking about Logan Paul, so I'm going to say Cody Rhodes is going to win this match. And I'd also like to do some fantasy booking. I don't want to I want to not take away from Cody Rhodes in this little moment. So maybe heading towards Money in the Bank and Clash at the Castle, some of the potential opponents for Cody Rhodes may be switching now to, say, Randy Orton might be rewarded as the potential finalist. Maybe Carmelo Hayes as another potential finalist. Maybe Tama Tonga is going to be entered into the fray with Solo. Although I do think that that might be a little bit early to re-engage the bloodline stuff. But I'm really keen for us to move past this and to see where else we're going with Cody, because you'll have noticed that he's hit the ground running, but as a representative champion, not so much as a story-driven champion, if that makes sense, right? Like we're still waiting, and I don't know if they've got many plans until, you know, whatever the next big phase is, whether it's bringing back The Rock for SummerSlam or bringing back Roman for SummerSlam, something like that. But in any case, once again, reiterating, Cody Rhodes will be going over this weekend.
And I agree with you. I'd love to see him sink his teeth into some good feud, some good rivalry. And I would love for that to be non-bloodline related as well. I feel like we need to give him something outside of that. But we'll see where that develops. All right, well, moving on, let's now discuss the namesake matches of King and Queen of the Ring tournament finals. Let's start off with the Queen of the Ring tournament final. And for these two matches, I want to add two components to the predictions. One is, who do we think's going to actually progress from SmackDown's bracket into that final? And then secondly, who is going to win out of the two finalists? So obviously, Lyra Valkyria is going to be in this match. Honestly, for you, who progresses from SmackDown side between Nia Jax and Bianca Belair?
Well, you and I are going to have to negotiate on how we're going to be measuring this, because this is how I want to predict it. My first thought, owing to the what I assume is a kayfabe injury and the fact that there's going to be a babyface finalist from Raw, I think that Nia Jax is more likely to defeat Bianca Belair than Bianca Belair is to defeat Nia Jax. So I'm going to predict that. When it comes to the actual Queen of the Ring tournament final, I think that Nia Jax is going to win that. That said, we should probably pose this other hypothetical that, assuming I'm wrong and that Bianca Belair goes to the tournament final instead, I still think that Bianca Belair is going to win if she's in the final, right? Like I don't see Lyra Valkyria walking out of Saudi Arabia with the Queen's crown. So if there's a way that we can have the kind of two-step or double dip chance, maybe that would be a good way to even, you know, add in some tiebreakers for us in this particular predictions video. But those are my two predictions for this. What do you reckon?
I think we're going to see Nia Jax qualify for the tournament final. And I agree with you. I think that if she does qualify, she will win it. However, on the tiebreaker situation, now they've posed it, I actually do see a world that Lyra Valkyria will beat Bianca Belair if she so happens to qualify for the final. And that's purely because Belair is a very much established star of WWE's women's roster. So, with that in mind, I feel like Queen of the Ring won't add too much if it's on her head, the crown. Whereas for Valkyria, I think that would be a huge upset because then we say that in her young career in WWE, she's got huge wins over Becky Lynch and then also two other champions in Io Sky and then potentially Bianca Belair. So for that reasoning, that would be my tiebreaker. But my official predictions of what's going to happen is Nia Jax qualifies and Nia Jax wins the Queen of the Ring tournament.
All right, so
So
let's play it this way: that if if Nia Jax gets through, and then whatever happens, we already have the same prediction. Assuming we get it wrong and Nia Jax does not go through, let's say that the person that gets the point for this one is dependent on the Bianca Belair versus Lyra Valkyria second best possibility. What do you reckon?
agreed. No,
Yeah,
wait.
silence.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think that's perfectly fair. And now let's move on to the final match to discuss, and that is the King of the Ring tournament final. And likewise, with this, we've got to discuss all the possibilities. Gunter is locked in. We know he's going to be there. Who does he face, in your opinion, Thanasi? Randy Orton or Tama Tonga?
For very similar reasoning to what I have had in the Queen of the Ring final, because the Raw finalist is a massive heel, the only babyface that we can pick from this one is Randy Orton. And hopefully, Randy Orton won't be a babyface for much of the rest of the year. But I do think that he will be going over Tama Tonga here, getting a little bit of revenge after the loss that he suffered in in Lyon, France. Maybe there'll be a bit of a scuffle there. Maybe Kevin Owens going to come out and help Randy Orton get that win, and then he'll have to suffer the consequences later on. But I do see Randy Orton delivering an RKO out of nowhere, pinning Tama Tonga 1, 2, 3, and then heading into Saudi Arabia. Do you agree?
I do agree. I think Randy's the way to go. And I think there's just something incredibly alluring about a Gunter versus Randy match. And I feel like the timing actually is like perfect for something like that to happen. So yeah, I'll definitely love to see that. And then on this situation, then Thanasi, if it is Gunter versus Randy, who wins for you?
Oh, I think Gunter's going to be winning. Well, I think I've been saying that Gunter should win the King of the Ring tournament before he even declared his entry into it. So it's stuck with it now. We've got to keep going with it. And I'm looking at the bracket here. He beat Sheamus in a little over 20 minutes. He beat Kofi in a little under 15 minutes. He beat Jey Uso a little over 15 minutes. So, and all of those were submission victories, right? Sometimes it was a knockout, sometimes a tap. But I think we could be seeing Randy Orton getting choked out, not tapping, but I think we could be seeing him taking a nap in the center of the ring and then lying there as Gunther goes to receive his scepter and crown. That's genuinely what I could see happening. And it's a very tasty contest, right? The 14-time world champion against the 666-day Intercontinental champion, Astaghfirullah. So
The
yeah, let's
irony
do
of
it.
that reign as well, 666 days for an Austrian dominant man. Like you can't make this stuff up. I completely agree, and I'm gonna say I don't think we're gonna be able to split ourselves on the tiebreaker either, because in the event Tama Tonga is in the final, I still believe Gunter would win it and assert his dominance in this tournament and put his name down in history as one of the King of the Ring tournament winners. There's a lot to be excited about here, Thanasio. I'm sure you're very excited about it too.
Oh, extremely. Like, how can you say no to 14-time heavyweight champion of the world against the longest reigning IC champion? Like, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be absolutely wonderful.
Oh, well, let us know in the comments below what you think about our predictions, how you think yourself it's going to turn out, and who you believe is going to win. Let us know in the comments below.